Oh my god, hello, it's me, Bjorn, coming at you from under the water. I am 20,000 leagues under the ocean. I actually cannot breathe right now. This is actually a real problem. So I'm gonna speed through this intro because this gimmick is stupid. This is a stupid gimmick. I'm stuck under the water. Please send help, I'm under the water. I cannot breathe. I literally can't breathe. I'm actually coughing. I'm sick. It's going to affect my voice in this video. Bear with me. My accents are going to be terrible in this one. Alright. Yeah, this is the first episode, first act of Arcane. If you're curious about what characters and where I'm setting this, it should be obvious I'm under the water. Obviously, it's bilge water. But if you're curious and you want to see that, you can go back and watch that other video. Otherwise, you can just jump right in. This is the first episode of the series. I've written the whole script. I'm going to read it in terrible accents, as I mentioned. And you guys can, jump in and watch this. If you're new to the channel, I write the entire script. I read all the dialogue. I do it differently than a lot of other people do, like writing stuff. So if that sounds cool to you, you can go ahead and join us in this episode. This first episode is called The Path. It's going to sort of be a little slower than some of the other ones. It's serving as an introduction to the world and area. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe. It actually helps a ton. Leave a comment. Tell me what I can improve. Tell me what you like about the script, what you don't like. If I made some glaring lore mistakes, I made a couple on purpose, but if I made a couple of horrible glaring lore mistakes, let me know. Please mock me relentlessly for getting the League of Legends lore wrong. Anyway, I'm gonna swim back to the surface or some dumb shit.
We open on a shot of a small oceanside village. In the sea beyond, we can see a large ship sinking beneath the waves as fire engulfs its upper decks. Another larger ship has set anchor near the shore. Rowboats bring men to the shore. They begin to storm the town. The camera lingers on a taller pirate, wearing an ornate outfit and what appears to be like, I guess what you call a captain's outfit. Very distinctive, like a feather coming out of his hat, standard pirate shit. He wears a necklace of shark teeth and has shark teeth worked into the knuckles of the gloves, facing out like sharp, spiked knuckles. He has scars running up his arms that we can see. He smiles, and his teeth are sharpened to points. We can see villagers fleeing and hiding before him. But he seems unconcerned with them. He and 3 of his men move forward until they reach a certain house. He kicks the door down, so it opens up wide and enters. Inside, we see a young woman holding a pan. When she sees the man, who's Artel the Shark, by the way. He's an original character not featured in the League of Legends lore. The woman lowers the pan in fear and then drops it to the floor. Artel smiles, showing his sharp teeth again, and he and his 3 men enter the room as the woman backs up. Artel says, "I saw you when I last came to this village. So beautiful. It seems such a shame for a beauty like you to be trapped in a place like this." The woman says, I like this town fine enough. Good people here. Don't need men like you around." Artel laughs. It's deep, but also sinister. But there also seems to be a tinge of genuine joy to the laughter. He gestures to the man standing at the door. His man steps outside and shuts the door behind him, leaving Artel with only 2 men and the woman. Artel says, "There are no men like me. Say, didn't you have a little one? Where's your son?" The woman goes pale and looks nervously at Artel. "He's been sent away to train as a blacksmith in Bilgewater." The camera slowly moves down beneath the floorboards. We see light shining through cracks, and in that light we can see a boy, maybe 9 years old, trembling down there, holding a hand to his mouth to keep from screaming, to keep from making sound. Artel says, "I've always thought you were beautiful. I've been waiting for an opportunity like this." The woman says, "I can't. I have a husband. I'm faithful." Artel laughs again. He turns to look at his men. "You hear that, lads? She's got a husband." His 2 men begin to laugh too, chuckling. Artel begins to approach the woman, and she slowly backs up until she bumps onto a counter. Artel gets up in her face. "I don't think you understand the situation. I am Artel the Shark, and the shark takes what it pleases." We see her hand slowly reach for a knife on the counter. Artel says, "And what I want is to take you right here." The woman slashes at him with a knife, cutting him across the eye. Artel screams, then bats the knife away. We can see blood running down his face. Artel snarls, "You whore! You like to play with knives. I can play too. Hold her down." The two goons hold her down, and Artel picks the knife up off the floor. We can see it still dripping from where she scratched him, his blood reaching the floor. We hear her scream as the camera moves down to the trembling boy beneath the floorboards. We can see blood begin to drip through the cracks and flow down over his hands, coating them red. His eyes grow wide, and tears begin to fall. He continues to hold the hand over his mouth to keep from screaming, blood now coating his body. In those eyes, we see fury, hatred, vengeance, and fear. We're going to cut to the intro, which I'd imagine we'd still use the one from Arcane, Enemy. I think it works pretty well for this series. We're going to cut to a teenage boy laying flat on his stomach. His fingers trail in the water. We can see colorful tints and streamers reflected in the water behind him. Small minnow-like fish swirl around his fingers, investigating the boy. The boy sighs. We see a brief wide shot and realize that this is one giant barge flowing down a river, covered in colorful tints and sails, made with colorful fabric. A kid calls out, "Tobias, it's your turn." The boy, staring at the water, looks up, then sits up from the water. Two other boys and a girl sit in a circle across from him. We can see several played hands of cards in the middle. Tobias grabs 5 of his face-down cards and tosses them face-up in the center. We can see 4 strange cards depicting a skull and another depicting a rusty sword. Tobias says, "Dead man's hand. 4 skulls and a sword. I win." The other kids all groan. One of them says, "I swear you aren't human. You win every time." Tobias says, "You guys are just easy to predict. You all have too much of a tell. Makes it too easy to beat you." He takes a couple of trinkets from the center pile, his prize. We see some small toys and maybe a little piece of jewelry. Another kid says, "I still think it's cheating. I'm gonna get you next time for sure. And when I catch you, you're gonna have to do the dishes for a month." Tobias just shrugs. "If anything, it's just my dad's lucky hat." He gestures to a hat in his head. It's folded leather hat, pretty standard stuff. It's got a card stuck into one of the little lining around the top of the hat. One of the other kids says, "Then let me wear it for a hand so I can win for once." Tobias laughs. "Not a chance." He pulls out a cracked pocket watch and checks it, then lets out a little yelp. He jumps up. The girl says, "Tobias, what is it?" He says, "I'm late. I have a meeting with the Arcane Mother." We see him run down the interconnected barges flowing down the river. Colorful streamers and cloth are everywhere, giving bright, vibrant imagery to the scene. He reaches a large tent near the back of the barges and runs inside. We see an old woman with glassy white eyes sitting at a table. She looks like what you would imagine a sort of stereotypical soothsayer to look like. A magic purveyor, if you will. The Arcane Mother says, "You are late, Tobias. Again." Tobias says, "I'm sorry, Arcane Mother. I lost track of time." The mother clicks her tongue. "I knew you would be. I don't need my abilities in the arcane to read you, Tobias. Always distracted, but never by what is important." Tobias bows his head. "It matters not now. I do not choose the pupils the path sends to me, only how I forge them. So have you managed it yet?" Tobias shakes his head. "I know you say I'm gifted, but I don't see it. I think you could be mistaken. Perhaps one of the other children, but not me." The Arcane Mother laughs. It slowly turns into coughs. "Boy, when I look upon you, the Arcane sings to me. It courses through you like it never did through me. You simply radiate with it. Your fate is twisted by the Arcane as sure as the river guides our path. You merely need to learn how to unleash the power you have, to harness it for the good of the river." Tobias says, "I can't. I've tried day and night. It just doesn't work. I focus on the rings, as you say, but nothing." The Arcane Mother puts a finger to her chin in contemplation and taps it a few times. "Perhaps it is my guidance at fault." Tobias shakes his head. "No, I don't mean that. It's just..." The Arcane Mother holds up a hand to stall him. "It's all right. Maybe the fault is in the focus. When I was a little girl, I made jewelry. I loved it, and it brought me all the joy in the world. And one day, while I was crafting a ring of pure sapphire, donated by the people of Boros, the Arcane sang through me. She holds up one of the rings on her finger, and a quiet energy hums out of them, making sparks appear in the air. The Arcane Mother says, "Perhaps it is the focus that must come from the heart. Something you love. I cannot tell you what it is. You must find it yourself." We're going to cut to a set of docks. We see men dressed like pirates leaning against the side of doorways and crouched on the ground. Several are curled up on the floor. They all vomit and moan. Despite this, they all carry weapons weakly and look forward as if they're on guard. A slow feeling of desperation washes over them, and it's visible in their faces. The camera moves by them until we see a tall man sitting in a chair. He has the dark skin of a Noxian and wears golden red clothes with a long, billowing cloak torn at the end. A large golden cloak facet shaped like a scorpion holds the look together. He wears a light mixture of armor and cloth, sort of like a weird pirate Noxian hybrid. Noxian warriors, for those who aren't familiar with the League, look like this. I'd say his armor looks like a mix of this and the sort of Bilgewater look. Just so we can instantly tell by looking at him, this guy is a Noxian pirate. Another smaller man sits next to him, wearing another smaller scorpion clasp. Both men have pale faces and are visibly sick. The smaller man, his first mate, says, "It could be an illness." The taller man, the captain, the sea scorpion, says, "An illness? Getting to all of us this quickly? No, this is no illness. Treachery. Poison." The first mate says, "But who would dare and how?" The sea scorpion says, "I don't know. The water maybe. But there is an attack coming. I'm sure of it." As if on cue, we hear the sounds of shouts echoing in the distance. Another group of pirates raid into the camp, killing the sick men and fighting them weakly. It's a slaughter. They move through in a little action scene, but it's mostly like they're just executing these, sick men on the ground. Some vomit as they die. I want it to be kind of actually disgusting and a little brutal. We'll probably go like a little tame on it, but you know what I mean. The sea scorpion manages to kill one of the pirates who walks up, splitting him in half with a massive sword. And out of the crowd, another man slowly approaches the sea scorpion. We recognize him as Gangplank if you've played the game, specifically the younger version of Gangplank. That's one of the skin lines, or this is skin inspired. I don't know if it's the canonical younger Gangplank, but it's young Gangplank, who will be one of our main characters mentioned in the first episode. He slowly approaches the sea scorpion as the sea scorpion struggles to his feet after killing the previous man, bloody sword in hand. The sea scorpion narrows his eyes and looks surprised. "You! Gangplank!" Gangplank smiles. "You think I didn't know you were stealing from me? The slaughter docks are mine! You broke the codes!" The sea snake snarls. "You think I'm afraid of you? You're an upstart, a nobody, just a green boy waiting to die. I've caught fish stronger than you. You don't stand a chance in this fight. Walk away." Gangplank laughs. "Hey, you're probably right. There's no replacement for experience, except perhaps for poison." The sea scorpion paler and angrier. "Relax, Scorpion. It's not fatal. Just enough to weaken you." The scorpion says, "You coward. They'll mock you for this. Poison is the weapon of a woman." Gangplank says, "Hey, they'll never know. All they'll know is that I killed you in combat with my own blade. No one will be left alive to tell them the truth." The sea snake snarls. He charges at Gangplank with his sword in hand. He seems to effortlessly raise the giant sword. Gangplank smiles and raises his pistol. He fires off a shot, and it tinks off the armor in the middle of the scorpion's chest, swirling to the side. We can see the bullet sort of, I guess you call it like a ricochet, where it cuts to the side and lands in the chest of his first mate, killing him. Sort of a fun little set piece bit. Gangplank looks surprised, and the sea snake smiles. He goes to swing the sword and Gangplank dodges to the side quickly. However, the sword catches the pistol in Gangplank's hand, knocking it free and splitting it in half. It lands on the floor in 2 pieces, and the sea scorpion stomps it with a metal boot as he steps forward to attack Gangplank again. Gangplank snarls and dives back into a roll, pulling the sword from his own belt as he comes back up. It's a much smaller, curved, classic pirate-looking sword, like a scimitar almost. And they begin to duel in earnest. They fight back and forth as we see Gangplank's men overtake the sea scorpions in the background. It's a slaughter. We'll say it's a heated battle back and forth. I don't usually describe battle scenes in these shows very much, but it's a dead heat. Even poison, the sea scorpion is relentless and effective. But Gangplank plays dirty. He pulls a bit of sand from his pocket, literal pocket sand, and throws it in the eyes of the sea scorpion. The sea scorpion stumbles back, shocked, and Gangplank stabs the sea scorpion in the gut, pinning him down to the ground with his sword. But also, it's not a fatal wound. The sea scorpion is alive. The battle winds down as the last of the sea scorpion's men are killed in the background. Gangplank raises his bloody sword and cheers, and his men join him. He gestures to the sea scorpion's bleeding body with his sword. "What do you think, lads? Should I carve him for encroaching on my territory?" The sea scorpion trembles in front of him, and the men cheer their approval. Gangplank smiles and grabs the sea scorpion by the hair, dragging him into a room as he pulls a knife from his belt. Once the door is shut, we hear screams from inside. They sound desperate, horrible, and eventually turn to guttural cries filled with the sweat sound of blood. We're going to cut to a burned village on a beach. We see a burned village sitting on a beach as the sun sets over it, casting scarlet and blue. We vaguely recognize the village as the one from the opening scene, though it's much more run down and overgrown now. The jungle sort of taking the tropical village back. We see a tall woman with bronze skin and long braided hair walking down the beach. It's Illoai, another character from the game. She looks like this as an adult. I don't know what she looks like as a kid. You'd have a designer design that design. She stops in front of a ruined house that's half burnt and collapsing. There we see Gangplank sitting on its stairs and staring at the sunset. Illoai says, "I thought I might find you here. It's always this spot." Gangplank continues to look out over the distant ocean. The burned ruins of the village are engulfed in the light of the sunset. She smiles and says, "I've never asked. I know you don't like to talk about the past, but what was this place to you?" Gangplank says, "It was my home once. I grew up in this house, and this was where she died. Right there." He gestures to the burned floor. A faint red stain is still visible as like a black spot on this floor. Gangplank says, "Come in here reminds me." Illoai says, "I see. I am sorry." Gangplank says, "I killed the sea scorpion today. The 6 lords have become only 5. Illoai says, "I heard. That is why I came to find you. They whisper of all the men you killed today, of how you stepped into the scorpion's own land and took his head in vengeance for a wrong. They all say Gangplank the pirate lord tortured him to death. It was quite bloody, apparently." Gangplank says, "Rumors and nothing more. I killed him quickly. I had my men spread the story around. I did have to brutalize a few, but it was for the greater good." Illoai shakes her head. "I do not understand why you bother with this Gangplank farce of yours. Why not show them your true colors? Show them Thomas Darren." Gangplank smiles. "Gangplank the pirate lord is more frightening and terrible than Thomas could ever be. If I am to be the Reaver King as I seek, they will need to fear me. No one without a name dreaded could hold the title long." Illoai says, "I find it funny that they see this Gangplank in you at all. They call you frightening, and I suppose you are to them. But I do not see Gangplank when I look in you. I see Thomas only. The man who wants to create a Bilgewater where innocence can be safe. A kind man forced to be hard by the world around him." She rests her head on his shoulder. "That is the man I see. The man who would be the Reaver King." Gangplank says, "I am getting closer. If I take out 1 or 2 more of the other lords, the rest will fall in line. I will be the River King, and there will never be another monster like Artel the Shark in Bilgewater again. Illoai takes his hand and looks at him with genuine fondness. You are beloved of Nakokeboros. You seek a single goal with absolute motivation. She will guide your hands. Gangplank says, I don't follow your god. Though you have made certain convincing arguments. He gives her a mischievous smile, and she blushes briefly and looks away. Illoai says, just because you do not follow her does not mean she does not follow you. You are a man who seeks to build a world in which another mother is not pointlessly butchered by a pirate lord. You are just a man, and one with a clear goal in your heart. Her will flows with you like the currents of the sea, pushing you along even if you do not see it. Gangplank smiles. Maybe so. I would have you by my side when the work is complete. A reaver queen. Perhaps that is what your god wishes. Illoai says, perhaps one day. She did bring me to you. But now my place is with Nakokeboros. Though I am not needed at the temple until the morning. Gangplank smiles and says, I can think of a few good ways to spend the time. We're going to cut to... We're going to see the barges of the river people that we saw earlier with Tobias pull into the docks of Bilgewater. People begin to kind of pour off the barges, but we focus on 2 people. It's Tobias and the girl who's with them, who's named Annabeth. Annabeth says, you know they're going to figure out how you're doing it eventually. Tobias looks at her and says, doing what? Annabeth says, the cards. How you keep winning. They're going to figure it out. Tobias says, I'm not doing anything. I don't know how many times I've told you. The girl says, and I don't know how many times I've told you, Tobias, that I don't believe you. You're too good. You almost never lose. Tobias says, I don't know. It just feels like... It feels like sometimes I know how the cards will fall. Instinct, I guess. I'm just good at it. The girl takes his hand and squeezes it. She says, one day, I'll get you to tell me the secret. Does it have to do with your lessons with the Arcane Mother? Tobias says, no comment. The girl gasps. Annabeth says, it's the Arcane, isn't it? I knew it. I knew you were doing something. Tobias says, it's not the... Just give it a rest, Annabeth. I'm just good with the cards. Is that so hard to believe? She nods her head. Yes. Oh, it really is. He takes up a post by the corner of an alley. He opens up his bag and begins to dangle out colorful talismans from his arms. He holds out a collection plate and then begins to cry out, talismans against ill fortune, only a silver serpent each. Protect yourself from the evil. The girl moves past him and begins to huck the same wares down the way. We're going to see a time lapse of him trying to sell the talismans to no luck. Only a single silver coin appears in his collection plate during the montage. A man with a large beard and scowl approaches. He says, river rats, we don't want you here, bunch of leeches. Tobias looks up at him confused. We aren't trying to cause any trouble. The man says, you think I buy that shit? Go steal from someone else, rat. He spits on Tobias's face. Tobias quickly flees, wiping it off his face. We can see tears begin to fall from his eyes. He takes his single silver serpent with him. It's not enough. He looks down awkwardly at it and lets out an angry growl. We're going to cut to Gangplank's house. We see Illoai standing up from Gangplank's bed. Gangplank sits up and watches her as she ties her hair up and gets dressed. Gangplank says, where does Nakokeboros need you today? Illoai says, I am to speak with the river people. They have arrived, and I hope to spread the word of Nakokeboros to them. Gangplank sighs, don't remind me they're back. Illoai says, you do not care for the river people? Gangplank says, they are trouble. They cause disruption everywhere they go, and they live by such foolish codes. Plus they're cheats, even if they try to hide it. Things always seem to disappear around the river folk. They're always up to no good. Illoai says, that is all just rumors. They have a goal, and they are willing to do anything to follow it. Though it is different from yours, their quest for true pacifism is worthy. They are beloved of Nakokeboros. Gangplank says, my mother was of the path. and so was much of my village. We followed the path of pacifism just like the river folk. And when someone arrived who wasn't a pacifist, they could do nothing about it. Our tell killed them all. It is a belief that only ends one way. The river folk are just too blind to see it yet. You should pray someone less cruel than our tell shows them the truth first, or they will cease to exist in time. Illoai says, the river people have existed for as long as anyone can remember. I do not think they are in danger anytime soon. She notices the destroyed pistol sitting on his table, split in half and crushed. Illoai says, what did that? Gangplank says, that toy-sunk bastard the sea scorpion broke it in our duel. Now I have to find another one. It was of good make too. It'll be hard to find another replacement. Illoai smiles. I can help with that. There's a place in Bilgewater. Fortune's Firearms. I've been told she makes the best. Tell her I sent you. We're old acquaintances. Gangplank says, Fortune's Firearms. Never heard of it. Illoai says, by her design, I suppose. Her prices are steep, and she tries to hide herself, but the quality is undeniable. Trust me, love. She's the best in the city. Maybe the world. Gangplank nods. Fortune's Firearms. I'll give it a try. We're going to cut to the riverboats. Tobias enters a tent on the top of one of the floating barges. We see a woman inside with hair pulled back in a bun. This is his mother. She's cutting a set of cloth to make a costume or clothes, sewing basically. She sits at the table doing that. Tobias tosses a single coin in front of her. It rolls to a stop. 1, he says. All day and I only got a single silver serpent. It's not enough to survive on. His mother sighs and looks up at him. She smiles. Fortune will come to us in time, as it has for all those who walk the path. The river brings us wealth. Tobias says, a man spat on me today, Mother. Said I wasn't wanted here. We can't afford to eat like this. We can't feed the people like this. Tobias's mother says, wealth will come. She says it like a mantra or a prayer. Tobias says, but it hasn't. Maybe we need to take things into our own hand. I've been thinking. I could play cards, Mother. I could turn this silver serpent into 10, maybe 20. I'm good, really good. I could feed all of us. His mother slams a fist down and looks up at him shocked. No, never that. Gambling is not the way of the path. It is taking money from others who do not wish to lose it. The money will come willingly, and it must. Otherwise we would stray from the path. We'll do another collection tomorrow. The people will help us. Tobias says, the people don't like us. Why would they give us money? His mother says, they remember in the end. They always have. You're too young, but I remember feeling as you do. The money always comes when we need it. You'll see. The path shows us the way. Tomorrow, the money will come. Tobias says, if you say so. We cut to Tobias's room. We see him sitting angrily on his bed. Stewing. He pushes his hands through his hair and growls in frustration. His mom just doesn't see. She's blinded by her faith, but they're going to starve if he doesn't do something. But what can he do? He begins to flip through the cards. He begins to flip cards in his hand, doing various tricks and shuffling them, almost effortlessly. Finally, in his anger, he throws the cards at the wall, one by one, in fury. Just as the last card leaves his hand, we briefly see it flash red. It flies into a pillow, and the pillow explodes in a puff of smoke. Tobias jumps back. We can see a surprised look in his eyes. He looks at the pillow, then back down at the cards at the ground. His smile grows across his face. He touched the arcane. We're going to cut to Fortune Firearms. We see a woman with long red hair, Abigail Fortune, working on a pistol. She carefully engrades the metal barrel with colorful twisting designs while using some sort of eyepiece to look closely at it. We hear a bell ring on her door, and she looks up. We see Gangplank enter the room. Abigail's brow furrows. Gangplank moves past displays of guns, studying them as Abigail watches. Eventually, Gangplank works his way over to Abigail and gives her a friendly smile. In the distance off from the staircase, like hiding underneath the staircase, we can see a little girl with red hair peering out from behind the stairs, watching the scene, hidden. Gangplank says, "A woman by the name of Illoai sent me to you. Says you're the best at what you do. And that you're an old friend." Abigail Fortune says, "So I've been told. And I've known Illoai since I was a girl." Abigail looks up at Gangplank dubiously. "But I have to ask, how do you know her? What I mean is, I know who you are. Gangplank the Pirate Lord. You've ruled the slaughter docks for a couple years now. I don't know how Illoai came to know you, or would have." Gangplank says, "We are close. She sees something in me that most don't. If you don't believe me, you can ask her yourself. She's with the river people, I believe." Abigail grimaces, then quickly shakes her head. "All right, I'll believe you. I just had to be sure. How can I help you?" Gangplank says, "I'd like a pair of dueling pistols." Abigail says, "I can show you my selection here." She gestures to a case filled with pistols. Gangplank walks over to her and sets down a pouch filled with gold cracking coins. It clinks as a table. We see Sarah watching from her place beneath the stairs. The little girl's eyes grow wide. Gangplank says, "I want a custom pair. Illoai told me you are on a high price for your masterwork. That's more money than I've ever spent, and I expect your highest quality work." Abigail's eyes grow wide as she looks at the coins. "How much is this?" Gangplank says, 25 golden krakens." Abigail Fortune says, "A small fortune." Gangplank says, "And money well spent if you're as good as Illoai says." Abigail laughs slightly. "I'm probably better. You'll have your dueling pistols." Gangplank smiles, showing off his golden teeth. "Good. How soon can you have them done?" Abigail says, "For 25 krakens, 6 days. 8 if you want them ornamented." Gangplank shakes his head. "I don't care about ornamentation. Just make them deadly. My men and I are setting sail tonight. I'll be back in a week. I'll come for them then." Gangplank turns and leaves the store. We follow the little girl as she runs to the back of the store. There we see a balcony looking out over the ocean. The girl grabs a little rope and slides down it 2 stories. She hangs out over the ocean and uses a swinging motion to land on the docks beneath their building. She hides behind a box and watches as Gangplank leaves the area with wide eyes. She murmurs something to herself. Then we see another young boy slide up next to her. He looks over her shoulder. "What you looking at, Sarah?" The girl jumps out of her skin and glares at him. "You scared me, Raffin." "I'm looking at that guy. He came into our store. Gangplank. He's one of the pirate lords." Raffin says, "A real pirate lord? He's the one who killed the sea scorpion yesterday. Wow." Sarah says, "Yeah, someday I want to be a pirate like him. I could go sail the ocean on adventures like the one Pike always tells us." The boy says, "You think I could go too?" Sarah says, "Why not? After all, I'm going to have the largest ship on the ocean. Plenty of room." The boy laughs as he imagines it. "They'll fear us from here to Piltover." Sarah says, "The dreaded pirate Fortune and her first mate. That'll be us." We're going to cut back from them to the firearms shop. We see Abigail leaning over the table where Gangplank left her. His money sits there on the counter. A coin is at the very top, a golden kraken with a smear of blood on it. She sees it and her eyes go wide. She comes to whisper herself, "Pirate Lord, a deadly pistol." She looks up and we see phantoms lingering in the room around her. They're all riddled with bullet wounds. Some have holes in their heads, others in their hearts. They all stare at her with dead, empty eyes, judging. She shudders and looks away. "It's not my fault. I just make the weapons. I don't kill anyone." She looks up and the spirits are gone. She sets her jaw and we can see her get the tools to begin work on a pistol. We're going to cut back to see Tobias on his corner alley. "Talismans! Protect yourself from evil. Handmade by the river people. Finest craftsmanship alive." The finest craftsman alive. People ignore him, moving past him in large crowds. Tobias sighs and moves his head back to stare up at the sky. We can see a shot of an empty collection plate. The clouds slowly pass by. Suddenly, we hear the sound of change hitting a bowl. Tobias looks down in surprise, and we see a single golden kraken coin in his offering bowl. He looks up, and we see Tamh Kench. Tamh Kench is a giant walking catfish. I couldn't describe this guy if I tried, so he looks like this. That's Tamh Kench. Tom smiles a toothy grin. Fate says, "This is a golden kraken." Tamh Kench says, "It is. I'm fond of you river folk. Your colorful boats and crafts delight me. I think it's about time I paid for my share of the joy." Fate says, "Here, have a talisman. Have 5. It'll protect you from evil." Tamh Kench almost recoils back. "Oh, no, I couldn't take that. Think of this as a donation." Fate says, "Thank you, sir. We were worried. We wouldn't have enough for food, but this will buy us time. Bless you." He bows to Tom. Tom says, "If you don't mind me saying, I like to watch the river people, and, I happened to catch a glimpse of you playing cards with the others earlier. You were playing to win." Tobias says, You saw that? How? I mean, I know I'm not supposed to, but please don't tell the others." Tamh Kench says, "Tell the others? I won't tell the others. To tell you the truth, I was impressed. You were good with them. A natural talent, perhaps. Maybe something more. A touch of the arcane. I've seen it before. Hell, I have a touch of it myself." He winks and giggles to himself. "I always was good with the cards. And that's how I made my fortune." Fate perks up. Tobias perks up. "You think I'm good?" Tamh Kench says, "Better than most players here, that's for sure. You'll want some advice? I'll give it to you for free. Gangplank's men will be in town 6 nights from now. They'll be all flushed up with cash and more than a little drunk after they finish seizing the Sea Scorpion's territory. Take that coin of yours and go play the cards. With what you could earn, your people won't have to worry about food ever again." Tobias says, "It wouldn't be right. The past says it's wrong to take money from those who don't want to give it willingly." Tamh Kench says, "Oh, but you see, boy, these men are gangplanks. That money ain't theirs to spend. They take it from others with violence. If you were to take it from them, it would be for the good of the river folk. I think the path would say that's a positive." Tobias narrows his eyes. "Even if that were true, my mother wouldn't accept me coming with that kind of coin, sir. She'd know." Tamh Kench shakes his head. "A valid concern. But you tell her whatever you win was a donation. Tell her old Tamh Kench gave it to you. If she wants to come looking for me, she could easily find me. Anybody can. I'll tell her I gave you the money. The path delivered and brought you a fortune." Tobias says, "I don't know, Tamh Kench cuts him off. "Trust me, son, I have an eye for talent, and you've got it. You're a gambling man at heart. You know that your mother is misguided in her beliefs. You know it deep down there." He gestures to Tobias's heart. "They aren't gonna survive much longer if things don't change. They're gonna starve. Those little kids, your mother, ribs showing out deep, starving to death. You have to do this for your people." Tobias nods his head. "All right, just a few hands. Enough coins to feed us for the month. That'll be enough." Tamh Kench smiles. "Just a few hands is all." Tobias nods. He picks the coins up in his finger and then grimaces. Tamh Kench says, "Careful, boy. You cut your finger." Tobias looks down and notices blood dribbling from his thumb. It coats the coin in scarlet blood. He says, "Oh, I must have snagged it on the coin." Tamh Kench shakes his head. "Careful indeed. I have to go now. Good luck, son." A pedestrian walking past blocks Tom for just a second, and when the man passes, he's gone. Tobias looks surprised, but doesn't think much of it. He's too distracted by the golden kraken in his hand. He smiles. He squeezes his hand shut and stands. He moves away from where his people beg and barter in the street, a look of determination on his face. It's clear. He's strayed from the path. And that's the end of episode 1, which I forgot to say was entitled The Path. The next episode is episode 2, which will be coming out very soon, next week or the week after that. Will be called Gambling Man. And the third and final episode of the first act will be called The Tithe. And it'll come, I don't know, sometime in the next couple months. And then I'll start the next batch after that.
That was the first episode. Pretty fun, mostly just introductions to characters, a few little action scenes. The next two pick up a lot, the third one especially. I think a lot of people who are familiar with the lore probably know what happens in the third episode, at least vaguely. I tried to swim up to the surface, guys, but it was a huge problem. There's like some rip current or something, and I'm back under the ocean again. Somehow I'm not dead. Don't think about it, all right? Don't think about it. As I said at the beginning of the video, like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Leave a comment, tell me what I can improve, what I did well, what you like about the script, all those glaring lore mistakes. I know there's a bunch of them. Oh my god, you changed Gangplank's backstory. Did I? Give it time. Alright. I'm Bjorn Man, Bjorn Dude. And thank you for watching this far if you did, you sadist. I'll see you all in the next one. The second episode of this should be coming out in 2 weeks, probably. I'll see you then. Bye-bye.